Hi, this is Brett Payne. We get asked a couple questions all the time that really aren't software questions. They're more kind of operational questions in general for restaurants or for caterers. And those two questions are, why should I use more than one vendor? I already have a supplier of food. What does it matter if I have more than one supplier? That seems like that would be confusing. And secondly, if I do use more than one supplier, how do I keep track of that with the pricing as they send me their updated pricing or order guides, or if I order online or something like that? How do I manage these kinds of things? Those are two really great questions. I want to show you the reason why it's important, just in the business of running restaurants, why this is something that needs to be considered. So, and of course, we're in the business of providing a solution for people to help to compare these food pricing comparisons. And this is a dialogue, not a dialogue, but a diagram that essentially shows the process that very much is outdated, that most restaurant owners are using to compare their food costs, how they're looking at past spending, and how they know when there are price changes. So the first question that we were going to address was, if you remember, why should I use more than one vendor? Well, let's assume that you're in a restaurant and maybe there's the chef, or maybe this is the owner, maybe there's a couple people in here between that do the ordering, or maybe it's just you as a single operator. You have a food vendor, so that may be a national brand like US Foods or Reinhardt or Cisco or somebody like that, and you've made an agreement with them, or they have their salespeople come by, they have your order guide of all the items that you have, 150, 200, 300 items, whatever it is, and then they bring that food to your location, maybe a few times a week or once a week, twice a week, whatever it is. And so they have the list of all of your items, and with that, there is the associated pricing with those items. Now, generally, when a restaurant makes a deal with a vendor, they will get the pricing from one or two vendors. They'll choose the vendor that has the best pricing. Maybe they'll even make an agreement that some prices won't change on certain things. There's all kinds of different ways that that can be done. They'll make an agreement, they'll be happy with it, they'll like their rep, and then what happens is that vendor, this vendor number one, will send your order guide as you're placing orders for your food. He'll send it to your store, like I said, a couple times a week or once a week or every other day, whatever it is. The thing that most people don't realize is that, like in the grocery store or anywhere else, as seasons change, or maybe there's changes in the economy or something else, also the prices in your food changes. So most restaurants that we speak with, they actually don't look at the changes in that pricing. They just assume that this person here is going to give them, by the nature of just being nice, the very best price possible. But what you don't realize is that this person here makes their money on the margin between what they're selling it to the restaurant and what their company is purchasing that food for. So that's how they get paid. So obviously they want to provide good pricing to you, but they don't want to give too low of pricing because that affects them personally. Not saying they're bad people, anything like that. That's just the nature of the business. So as prices change, or prices do change, those simply will be passed on to you. You'll have to pay that, and that's why you realize sometimes you can, order tomatoes, and you think that they cost, X number of dollars, and then you look 4 months down the road and realize, oh my goodness, I've been paying twice for tomatoes what I could have got at Walmart or somewhere like that. And the reason why that happens is because these prices creep. So the way to solve that is that it's always recommended in a restaurant that you have at least two vendors so that you can compare the pricing, because their prices may change and their prices may not. Let's just take tomatoes, for instance. Anytime that we run into a restaurant that only has one vendor, we realize that they're actually making themselves very susceptible to price changes, because they have no other alternative. They're having to use this vendor, or they're having to run to the grocery store or something like that. And so there's nothing to kind of hedge in the protection of the restaurant or the chef. So we always tell restaurants you need to have more. There's no extra cost in having more than one, but you definitely need to have more than one. Just like with a grocery store, maybe in your city there's more than one grocery store or two grocery stores, and maybe you realize that there's one that's better than the other. And if things start to slip, then maybe meat's more expensive over here, so I go over there. Well, obviously these foods are delivered to you, so it's a little bit easier, but it's the same principle. You never want to get into a place in your restaurant where you are depending on one vendor for all of your orders, because they have complete control over your pricing. The other reason why you don't want to use more than one, or why you only want to use don't want to use one vendor, is because if, let's say, your order guide is, let's say it's 150 items, this vendor is going to know what the primary items are that you're going to look at for pricing. So if somebody asks you, are the prices changing? They know that you're not going to look historically through 150 items or 300. They realize that. And maybe paper towels in there. There might be other things in there as well. So what happens is they tend to realize the maybe top 10 or 20 items that you're really paying attention to, that's really important for your business. So if you're a pizza place, you're looking at flour, you're looking at tomato sauce, you're looking at mozzarella cheese, you're looking at those kinds of things. But when they're providing that spreadsheet, or if they're doing that, or if it's online, they realize that there's a lot of stuff at the bottom of that list that you're not paying attention to pricing on. And therefore what happens is that sometimes there will be price creeps on the bottom section of your order guide, and you end up paying 2, 3, 4 times for paper towels than you started with, and you don't know it because you haven't looked at it, and you don't have time. You're too busy. So that is another reason why you want to have more than one vendor. It helps to keep them it helps to keep them honest in one sense, but also you can compare these pricings. So the old method of doing this is that either someone would get one, or maybe you would get 4 or 5 or 6, or we've run into restaurants that have 9, and then all the pricing starts to come in, but you don't have time to compare all this. It's way too much data. So if you've got 6 purveyors and you've got 150 items, well, it's 150 times 6, and you've got to compare all these items every single week. Well, the result is that everybody realizes you don't have time to do this. So the result is you will have price creep. You will also see price fluctuation. There will be what we call non-essential price hikes. So those are items that typically are in the bottom third of your order guide that maybe the vendor or somebody else has raised the prices there because they realize you're not going to see it. And then also, most restaurants that we talk to, they simply are guessing. They're just saying, oh yeah, X vendor has the best pricing because Steve takes me to play golf, or he stops in here from time to time. It's the nice guy business. That used to be the way when people bought cars, when people bought airline tickets, when people got hotels, things like that. But all of a sudden, all of those kinds of systems were automated. Now you can get real transparency and real clarity before you go buy a car, or before you go get a hotel room or airline ticket or something like that. So that's the reason why you should use more than one vendor. And how can you keep track of the pricing from more than one vendor? Well, some people do that by comparing very complicated spreadsheets and things like that. That's certainly a way to do it. And then also, of course, we have our solution with food costs, which does this automatically for you. So as an example, I'm going to show you an account here that has 9 purveyors, and inside of their inventory here there is about 1,500 items, I think. So you can imagine all of these 9 purveyors bidding on all these items, the price changes, making sure you're getting the best deal, all those kinds of things. So the way that food cost works is you can put in your quantities of what you'd like here, and so I might put in 1 and 6 and 4, whatever you want to order. It doesn't matter. It'll create your order for you. But then also, if you'd like to import your order, you can do that, and I can just go and grab my food order here, And there it is. It's the aggregate of all the items that I want. There's a whole bunch of stuff. I'm going to import it here, and just look how quickly this does this. So now I've got all of my orders in here, and then if I just want to find out who has the best price, I can just select best price, and all of the comparison is done for you. You know exactly who to order from. You can place the order. It's incredibly simple and time saving. And also, you can make sure that you're not going to get, have something bad happen on your on the like the lower end of your order guide, where people are maybe raising the prices, because you can very quickly see who's got the best prices on everything. Or if I just want to look at maybe one purveyor, then I would maybe do that. So, but most of the time people just use this best price. It's really simple, and then you just create the order, and you're off and running. It sends the order off, and you're all nice and safe. So that's the solution for keeping track of pricing. And again, you can do this manually. I mean, there's no reason why you can't. You can use spreadsheets and formulas and tabs and all those kinds of things, and kind of go through there and update it. But of course, we think that the solution to this mess right here is this, is food cost. And the reason is because we try to give a really fair price to help save you money, so that you are not affected by price creep. You don't have to worry about price fluctuation, because you always see the best deal everywhere, and you can order instantly. If there's non-essential price hikes, you're going to know about it, because it's going to say, nope, this guy doesn't have the best price this week. This guy has the best price. Click, and it's gone, and there's no more guessing. So that's what we're trying to do, is just help out restaurants, because the number one reason they go out of business most of the time is because they lose track of their expenses, and they can't manage the food costs. And so we've tried to provide a solution that would help with that. Thank you very much.